All right, here we go. We are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris. This is my channel, We Love Comics, and I figured while we're waiting to see what's going to be happening with this hurricane, we are basically we're about west of Tampa, so we're right in the middle of the state of Florida, and probably about another hour and a half, the eye of the storm should be approaching us. So I figured, I don't know if we'll get power outages or anything like that. So I figured while we have power and while I have some free time, thought I would do a unboxing video for you guys. Hopefully you're doing well. Any other Floridians out there in the live chat or watching this later, if you want to leave a comment and let us know if you're doing okay. One of the things I can highly recommend to people is, especially if you're watching the news from other locations, and even around here, I find the news tends to overblow things. Now, that doesn't mean to not be careful. It doesn't mean to not be prepared or anything like that. But they tend to make extreme overdoing of areas. Because, like right now, I mean, if you were to watch the news all week, you'd think we'd all be floating around in the sky like the witch in the beginning of The Wizard of Oz, but that's not the case. I mean, there's a little bit of a breeze outside right now. It only rained for about a half hour this morning, so knock on wood, so far so good. Um, Anybody in the panhandle, definitely be careful. That's where you have to have you know, the most concern and be most prepared because that's exactly where the hurricane is directly hitting. So as far as I believe, the eye of the storm is about 160, give or so, miles from our location. So the winds are not that bad as of now. But like I said, it's going to be another hour and a half before it really officially reaches us. So I guess time will tell. But I thought while I'm waiting around, let's get some unboxings done. So while I'm waiting for people to come in, always want to thank my Patreon members. If you'd like to become a Patreon member, you can go to patreon.com/, we love comics. And if I get up to 20 paid members, I'm going to start doing some giveaways. You'll get your name shouted out every single video I do. If you prefer me to do a link to something, maybe your eBay store or your, Facebook page or something, or your YouTube channel instead of just your name, let me know. I have no problem with doing that at all. So contact me at peacefulfeelings@yahoo.com with that. And let's give our shout outs to Carl Sith, Scott, Michael B, Kevin W, James R, Dan L, Kim N, Annabelle N, Jason B, Stephen L. And if you have Facebook, check out Darth Bleak at Stephen L Turk Author. And if you have Instagram, go check out Silver Age Surfer _comics. Tell them both that We Love Comics sent you. I'm sure they would absolutely appreciate it. So there is all the list of the giveaways once I get to 20 paid members. So if you want to pause that at any moment to check it out, there is no minimum to enter the contest. Basically, it's $2 minimum to go on anybody's Patreon. So I don't require somebody to do $10, $20 or anything like that. The minimum is perfectly fine. But you'll get one entry for every $2 you put into your account with We Love Comics every month. So the more you put in, the more chances you'll win. So I'm also looking for some trades. If you know of or have any of these books and you'd like to do a trade with me, come and contact me at peacefulfeelings@yahoo.com. Let's make that happen. So let's give some shout outs to people in the live chat. We got Lara Lopez says, "Good morning, Chris. Glad you're posting this clip. Well wishes, brother. Thank you." Um, PETA VTC Watts, hopefully I'm getting your name correct. It's good to see you again. Says, with how much hurricanes in Florida, how much does home insurance cost over in Florida? Honestly, it's going to depend on your house. It's going to depend on your location, whether you're in a flood zone or not in flood zone. But from what I understand is no matter what you have in Florida and where you have it, it's going to be pretty expensive. And a lot of insurance companies are even just dropping people's insurance. So it's been interesting with that, but prices are absolutely going to vary. But I mean, considering Florida has no state income tax and things like that, there's other advantages. So where one state will get you in one place, they'll save you money in another and vice versa. So I mean, there's always give and take. I mean, electricity bills are higher here, but in New York, the heating bills were definitely higher. So there's always balances and everything. But yeah, it really depends on the size of the house, how old the house is. If you have a roof that's older than 15 years old, sometimes they'll even make you have to redo the roof just to get insurance. So definitely will vary, but it's absolutely not cheap, especially if you live near a flood zone. Andrew Jensen, welcome, says, was going to watch the new episode of Rings of Power during the Helene, wait, this might be better. Um, I haven't seen any of the Rings of Power, either the first season or the second season. I would say, according to what I've heard from reviews and people about that show, I think watching random people just picking their nose on YouTube would probably be more exciting than Rings of Power. But hey, if you like it, that's great. That's just what I hear from other people. I haven't seen it, so I can't say either way. But if you think my show is better than that, I am humbled because I didn't have to spend, tens of millions of dollars to make this fine production you see right before you. So welcome. Um, PT Peter VTC Watt says, seems there is always a flood I've seen on TV in every year in Florida. Well, considering there's a lot of water around the entire state, yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot more floods. And also, you know, most of Florida is below sea level. So I mean, you can't dig more than 5 feet anywhere in Florida and not hit spring water or somewhere. So yeah, floods are definitely going to be an issue here. But I mean, we've had floods in front of our house, but it's never, knock on wood, damaged the house. It's gotten close, but you know, there are some places around here where they were doing a lot of new construction that's been causing a lot of problems. And there were towns that were completely, their houses, you couldn't even enter them for like a week or two after a storm. So I happily and luckily am in a prime location where so far in the past 5 years that I've been living here, we've been able to avoid all that stuff. So hopefully that trend will continue. Chris Paul is here. Says, have you seen Penguin? I have not, but I've heard some actually decent reviews for it. I will have to check it out. The more I hear reviews that are positive, the more likely I'm going to watch it, but I haven't seen it yet. I'm more of a Marvel person than a DC guy, and like shows like that, I really don't have too much interest in, but if enough people tell me it's like really good and something that you shouldn't miss, then I would definitely take the chance on it. But no, as of yet, I haven't seen it. So if you have, you could put a little mini review in here if you want. All right, let's put on the video camera because you guys are here for comics. I got 3 boxes we're gonna do unboxings. Pino, good to see you. So these have been in my possession now for at least some of them 2 or 3 weeks because you guys know me, unless it's a major key book, I usually don't tend to open them right away. Don't ask me why. I mean, I literally have boxes all around that some of them were back when I bought them from New York. So I don't know. There's a method to my madness. One day, maybe even I'll figure it out. But yeah, and while I'm opening these boxes, if anybody wants to ask any questions while you're in the live chat, by all means, please do. If you want me to see it, just do all capital letters. It makes it easier to see. Obviously, I don't say anybody ever has to do any super chats or anything, but if you do that, I'll actually see that the easiest. But like I said, I don't require or expect anybody to do that. But that is an option for me to see it because it's kind of like a colored box that comes in once somebody does that. All right, so they taped this pretty good. None of these are in a box, but as always, I ask people, and I always recommend people who watch when you're buying from anybody, don't assume they know or care how to package comics. I always do suggestions. They don't always listen. Like I said, for this example, they didn't put it in a box, but at least they put the cardboard like I requested, and it doesn't look like it was bent or anything like that. So, sometimes, as they say, something is better than nothing, but anything to prevent getting the manila envelope of death. And if you've been around collecting comics for long enough, and especially ordering comics through eBay, especially, I'm sure you've had that situation. So if you've ever had a comic arrive in a very weird and unsafe package, let us know in the comments section. So as usual, I will tell you the significance of the book, the price I paid. Let's see what comments we got. Anything? Andrew Jensen says Penguin is more of a mob show than a DC show. First episode was really good. Yeah, I might have to check it out. What is it on HBO Max or something like that? I would have to find somebody that has it because I'm not gonna, you know, pay money for a streaming service that I'm gonna use just to watch one episode. I mean, one series. So, but we'll see. All right, so let's show this first book. We've got this is X-Men number 135. This is the first Dark Phoenix. Now, this one, and we're always going to double check. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you probably know what type of comic this is. If you want to post what you think this might be, post it in the live chat, or you can, of course, put it in the comments section. All right, so everything seems to be intact. So this, of course, is a Mark Jewelers variant. I've been really serious on getting Mark's Jewelers variants. Um, I always tell people, stick with key issues because there's literally hundreds of Mark Jeweler variant comics that aren't worth diddly because they're just generic comics. So don't just buy a Mark Jewelers just because they tend to be rarer. Because remember, a Mark Jewelers variant tends to be between 5 and 7% of a total print run. So the older the comic, the less likely, especially in higher condition, you'll find. And this looks to be in pretty good shape. I wouldn't say in the nines, but I would say maybe between an 8 and a 9. It does need a pressing and dry cleaning, but overall, I mean, there's no ticks along the spine. Pages look to be at least off-white to white. Kim says, how are you doing today? So far, so good. The eye of the hurricane is going to be passing us by within the next hour and a half. But as of now, I mean, earlier today, there was actually like 40% blue sky. It was actually beautiful out. I was actually driving to the store and all my windows were down because it wasn't raining at all, except for maybe like a half hour, like around 8 o'clock in the morning. So, knock on wood, so far, so good. Florence, nice enough to say, please stay safe with the hurricane. Will do. Appreciate that. Corey Knight says hello. Hello back. So with this one, with shipping and handling and taxes, I paid $111.27. They had it listed for $175. I contacted this person, asked if they'd make a deal. They wouldn't go too much lower, but they went from 175 down to 100. So with shipping and handling and eBay taxes, it came out to $111.27. So I think that's actually a pretty good price. Like I said, this is probably going to be between an 8 and a 9 for a Mark Jewelers variant. Love to hear your thoughts on this. And like I said, this is the first appearance of the Dark Phoenix. So anything X-Men, especially with the X-Men eventually coming to the MCU, now's the time to kind of grab onto those kind of books. Get them while they're still cheap because most people wait until the last minute on most things, and I don't understand that. But I mean, if you don't have the income, I can understand it. But if you're a person that has the money already good and to go, and you're always trying to bottom feed, a lot of times by the time it hits that bottom and you're still waiting, you wake up the next day, and all of a sudden it's just jumped up 10%, 20%, and then goes up from there. I mean, if you look at the price, like I was talking about the other day, just showing the price of gold. Gold overnight went to $2,685. So another daily all-time high. So what happens is with any kind of investments is people always wait for the cheapest price, but most people wait too long and they keep thinking that, the price is going to get lower, and at least they hope it is. But what happens is when the price of any commodities or investments start getting higher and higher and higher, and you're waiting for that dip to come and it never does, eventually it ends up higher than what you were waiting for it to dip below because you miss out. And then you end up either missing out completely or you actually have to overspend because most people wait until prices shoot up, which makes no sense to me and goes the opposite of what you really should do if you're trying to invest, and that's buy low and sell high. But eventually, the fear of missing out starts affecting people because, especially if they want a commodity or they want an investment and the price is no longer low like they were hoping and they didn't pounce when they should have because they kept waiting for a lower low, eventually they see the prices go up higher and higher and higher and they jump on. That's not the smart way to do it, but people are free to do whatever they want. All right, so this person actually included the price so I can prove that I don't just randomly choose numbers, although this print is microscopic, so I don't know if you'll actually be able to see it, but I'll show it anyway. But this one, it's not a major issue or anything, but I really think for the price, it was worth getting. So this is New Mutants #1. This is also, and of course I will check it out, but this is also, and they mark it, they're saying it's a 7.0, which means it'll probably be between a 7.5 and an 8. Because a lot of times, I mean, obviously I'll have to check it, but a lot of times sellers will say a grade lower. Like, for example, there's an indent on the top here. That could be pressed out because it doesn't break color. This definitely looks nicer than a 7.0. I mean, it's still got its, look at that. It's still got its gloss. Look how deep the purples are. Now you see, when you see stuff like this, see that indent all up there? That's why they considered this a 7. And you can, I don't know if you'll be able to see this right here. Try and get on an angle. But there's an indent right along here, but again, does not break color. If you look at the spine, there are no color breaking ticks. So I love when people don't get their books pressed and dry cleaned and make those estimations based on the way the current book looks, which, I mean, you have to do that. You can't sell a book saying, well, even though right in its current condition it's a 7, you can't say, well, with the pressing and handling it could be an 8 or a 9. You don't know that. Let's see. White pages, and of course, another Mark Jewelers variant. So this has like off-white pages. No coupons missing. Everything looks good. I mean, the staples are perfect. Let's check out the centerfold. Centerfold is perfect. No writing on the coupon. The edges, the corners are all sharp. So I think with a pressing and dry cleaning, this could be going in the low 9s. So I know, it's not the first appearance of the New Mutants or anything, but still, first issue, again, with the X-Men coming to the MCU, who knows if they eventually do the New Mutants in a movie or have some of them appear? Because, I mean, Sunspot was in the X-Men movies, in the Fox X-Men movies. So, I mean, they could use some. But I paid $54.46, and that's including shipping and handling and taxes. Now, again, I'll show you the receipt just so you can see. They listed it as a 7.0. So that's what the price was before shipping and handling and taxes. So I won it for 44, and after shipping and handling and taxes, it came out to $54.46. I honestly think that's a pretty good deal for New Mutants #1. Again, it does need a pressing and dry cleaning, but that's easily done because the damages that they're saying would make it a 7 are all pressable defects. So always good if you're going to buy raw comics, try and examine them as much as you can and try and find ones. I mean, if it has, like, for example, color breaking ticks or tears, you can't do anything about those. But if you see stuff like I just showed on that book where there's indenting or maybe some wrinkles and stuff like that, well, a pressing and dry cleaning, well, the dry cleaning won't help the wrinkles or anything, but the pressing is going to help get those out and dramatically, potentially increase the grade. Now, of course, nothing is ever guaranteed. You could send it to them, they can get it pressed, and they send it to someone to get graded. And in the process of the shipping it to the grader, the mailman decides to play soccer with the package and damage everything. So, you never know. And that's why it's good to have grading companies that have in-house pressings, like EGS, like I think CBCS does as well. CGC does do pressings, but they do have to mail it to another person or well, another company to have it done. So, I mean, things can get lost or damaged in the mail in the process. The more times you have to mail stuff, the more likely something like that can happen. So this is a key book. It's a lower grade. I knew that when I bought it. But as I always say, lower grade is better than no grade. So low grade better than no grade. Got multiple copies of this book. This, of course, is Daredevil #7, first appearance of his red suit. You can see there's a piece missing there. There looks to be some kind of, hopefully just a coffee stain. I don't want to know if it's any other kind of stain, unless there's somebody that was really a super duper Daredevil fan or Submariner fan. You never know. And as you could see, big color break increases there, piece missing there. So this is probably between a 2 and a 3, probably 2, 2.5. It's got a lot of color breaking ticks along the spine. So this type of book, a pressing and dry cleaning probably wouldn't help it at all. I mean, at best, they could probably bring it up 0.5. But even lower grade versions of this book are definitely worth getting, and they're not cheap. And with Daredevil, the Daredevil Born Again series coming, and rumors that Daredevil could be in a Spider-Man movie soon, I would love to see that, but you never know. Rumors, don't take any rumor with anything other than a grain of salt until you see it on the screen, because even if they film stuff, does not mean it actually ends up in the movie. So, Kim said, very nice DD. So, Kim likes my double Ds. Awesome. What did I pay for this? I won it for $99.99 because it was a buy it now newly listed book with shipping and handling and taxes came out to 112. So, this book and these grades probably go for about 175 to maybe about 200. But as usual, I always tell people I don't base stuff on where things have been. I don't base things on where they are. I base them on where they're going. And with, like I said, Daredevil Born Again coming, and it looks, from what I've seen in the trailers and people talking about it, it looks like it's going to be a good show. They did a lot of refilming stuff, so maybe, hopefully, they got rid of a lot of the DEI nonsense and made it actually into a watchable show. And that's just going to increase the value of the book and the desirability of the book. And you can't go wrong with the first 6 or 7 issues of Daredevil. I mean, like, a couple of them are kind of cheesy, like Daredevil 3 first appearance of the Owl, which, that's just a weird character. Then you have like #8, which is first Stilt Man. So he had some weird villains. I think another one is not the Puppeteer, but the Matador. I think that's Daredevil #5 or 6, one of the two. But I mean, Daredevil 7, no first appearances other than his costume. But I mean, nobody knows Daredevil by the yellow suit anymore. So I think for that price, it's definitely worth it. So those are the 3 books for the 3 unboxings. I'd love to hear what you thought and the prices I paid. So Daredevil #7, lower grade, but around $100, perfectly fine. Around $55 I paid roughly for a New Mutants #1 Mark Julas variant. Looks to be in pretty good shape, especially after a pressing and dry cleaning. And the same thing here for about 115. X-Men #135, first appearance of Dark Phoenix, also in a Mark Julas variant. So, at this point, we're going to read a couple of comments. So, if you're just here for the comic books, that part has ceased. So, if you want to bid yourself a fair adieu at this point, I don't blame you, and that's perfectly fine. If you want to hit the thumbs up or the thumbs down, by all means, please do. I tried to get 100% ratio on my thumbs down on that other video the other day. Only got down to 85%. So I was actually kind of disappointed about that. Normally it's like a 95% positive ratio. on average. So it did go down because I did request people to thumb it down. But I was trying to get 100% negative rating on that video. So if you want to try and make it happen in this one, cool. I want to show people how much I care about that. So let's go over some of the things that people are saying. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, I always do a surprise subscriber shout out at the end of every video. You don't even have to be a subscriber unless you want to subscribe. All you have to do is leave a comment in the comment section, and I'll pick two of you randomly. And let's see what we got people to say. Kendall Gill says, if you go out in the hurricane, bring soap and shampoo, get a free shower. Absolutely. Especially if you like salt water. Um, is that really too rare? It says, I'm going soon on all of your comics. I'm going, I'm going goon on all of your comics. I'm not really sure what that means. It could be a typo. So if you want to retype it, by all means, please do. Cash Cow Occupation LLC, welcome. Be safe, Chris. Thank you. Definitely so far, knock on wood. Right now we have, I mean, there's definitely some wind out there, but I mean, nothing that's causing anything more than maybe some paper products to be flying across the road. Um, Part of somebody's drainage system, like they have this plastic extension that you put on the side of your house to kind of get the water away from your house, was in the middle of the road. Now this thing was round and it was basically light plastic and it wasn't even moving in the wind. So as of now, everything's looking good. But like I said, about probably at this point, probably about an hour from now, is when the eye of the storm is going to hit. But there hasn't even been any rain except for about a half hour earlier this morning. So so far so good. But there are people in the Panhandle area of Florida, the ones that really have what looks to be the biggest part of that hurricane. So, prayers to them as well, because that's, even a hurricane category 3, if you have like a trailer or a mobile home or a manufactured home or you know uh an older house that's not made of concrete, that could get pretty bad. So hopefully none of you are in that Panhandle area, and if you are, hopefully you've relocated at this point, because you want to be alive. That's more important. Houses can be rebuilt. All right, we got Gotham City Comics says, be safe, everyone. Omega Collectible says, how's it going, guys? Kim says, good. So he's responding to that. And also, guys, if you want to order one of my mystery boxes, there's the link right there. I just put in the live chat. It's also in the description. My mystery boxes are 20 comics in every mystery box. You can get a basic package, which is basically 20 just generic comics for people who just want to order just some generic readable comics, all the way up to a $5,000 platinum package. I've had people buy the platinum packages and everything in between, and a couple of people actually did some live unboxings. So if you go to the search engine on YouTube and type in "We Love Comics Mystery Box," you can see some of the people in the comics that I send. So especially if you're getting some of the bigger boxes, um, you're going to get some really good deals on those. So that is my story. Let's do today's surprise subscriber shout outs. High Grade Key says, you're making it sound like there's no charge for press and cleans. Tack on another $30 to $40. Depends on who you're sending them to. Like, for example, even if you don't want PGX to grade your comics, they can just press your comics. They'll do pressings for $18. So not all places are $30 or $40. But even still, let's go to the high end that you said. And I understand that, but let's say you have a Amazing Spider-Man #1, okay? And it's a 4.0, but it has pressable defects. Let's say that one costs you $100 to get pressed and dry cleaned, because some companies will charge you more for more valuable comics. Um, let's say it costs you about $100 to get that pressed, and it goes up a full grade. It goes from a 4 to a 5. You're talking about $1,000 up in extra value. So even if it costs you $100 to press a book out, especially if you know it's a book that has pressable defects, it is absolutely worth it regardless of the price they're charging. But like I said, if you send your books, even if you don't want them to get graded by PGX, you can send your books to PGX just to get pressed and dry cleaned. Which, by the way, in the 7+ years I've been working with PGX with the deal that I have, and by working I mean I'm not employed by them and I don't get paid by them. I'm talking about the once a month thing that I do with them with no contract signed. I love their pressings and dry cleans. And like I said, they only charge about between 18 and $20 to get them pressed. So again, you're not going to send in like that Daredevil #7. I'm never going to send that in to get pressed and dry cleaned. Like something where the staples are about to pop, you're not going to get that pressed. And many legit, honest pressers will tell you not to press it. I mean, if you send it to some generic person that has a presser, they may do it and pop the staple. So you really want to be careful with who you go with. But I completely understand. Yeah, it's going to cost some money, but as they say, you got to spend money to make money. The little amount it costs, even regardless of the higher end, like you talked about, to get them pressed and dry cleaned. If you know what you're doing and you know the comics are going to improve, you're talking literally sometimes 5 to 1, 10 to 1 increase. Even if it doubles, even if it only goes up twice as much as you spent, it still makes it worth it. So I understand you have to spend some money, but you had to spend money on the comic book as well. You had to spend money to ship it to somebody. So, there's always going to be, when it comes to a business, the difference between net profit and gross profit. You have to factor these things in. But if you know what you're doing and you can buy a raw book and you see, okay, this has some wrinkles in it, some wavy lines, this has some non-color break increases, I can easily get that pressed. And, sometimes you can have a book that's a 6 and you get it pressed and it comes back a 7.5. That's a big amount of money that you're going to increase the value of that book with for very minimal amounts of investment. And if it's a business, it's a tax write-off as well. So that's the beautiful things that you can apply into this. So let's do today's surprise subscriber shout out unless somebody else wants to know. Well, before I do, I'm going to read this comment because I'm going to tell you why I a little bit disagree with this. Um, PETA VTC Watts says, sell Null right now with the hype. Here's the reason why I wouldn't do it. Um, yes, he's going to be quote unquote in Venom 3. I thoroughly think he's just going to be either at the extreme end of the movie or he's going to be in an end credit scene. I sincerely doubt he is going to be the main villain of the entire movie because of the fact. Now, I don't know if this is official, and again, anything can change, but there are rumors saying that Spider-Man 4 has Null as the main villain. And I think it's called the Null something, like Null's name. It's like Spider-Man 4 Null something. I forget what the title is. But again, take that with a grain of salt, because even if that was the case, it can change. So I know a lot of people say that Sony movies are not good, and for the most part, I would agree, except for the Miles Morales Spider-Verse movies. But their live actions have been average at best. So I can understand where people would say, "Oh, get rid of Venom 3 because of that." But the fact that, like I said in a video the other day, the fact that it seems that Sony is finally learning their lessons, and it seems their next negotiation, which I don't know is finalized at this point, because until something's finalized, anything can change. So, or it could just stop completely. But it seems that Sony is going to allow Disney to use their Spider-Man and Spider-Villain characters more in their MCU films. I think they would do Null right. Now, you know, depending on who's going to be writing it and everything, that remains to be seen. But I don't think they're going to damage, like Deadpool, I don't think they're going to damage Spider-Man. I mean, that's a franchise that's too valuable to screw that up. Because if they screw that up, and Disney goes full DEI with a Spider-Man movie and nobody watches it, you think Sony's ever going to renegotiate a contract with them again? So I think when it comes to characters like Wolverine, when it comes to Deadpool, when it comes to Spider-Man, I don't think they're gonna F around to find out. So I really think if Null ends up the main villain in the next Spider-Man movie, you would be silly to sell Venom 3 now. Now, one can say, well, sell on the hype from Venom 3. If the movie doesn't do that well, or if it ends up Null either dies or ends up, in just an end credit scene, there'll be a dip and you can buy it back. But that doesn't guarantee. I mean, how much do you think it'll drop compared to what you sell it to? I mean, when you're talking maybe a $50 gamble, if it doesn't work out, I mean, how much profit are you really making at that point? So I would be careful about that. That's just my opinion, but you're free to do what you think is best for you. The one thing about my channel is I never tell anybody what to do with their money. You do what you think is right. But when somebody makes a statement like that on my channel and I don't agree with it, not to a 100% disagreement, but I think you might be better off finding ones from people selling that think that way and stock up waiting for the next Spider-Man movie. Because I don't think Null is going to be a one and done character. At least I hope not. That's the one thing I don't like about what Marvel has done with their villains is, even with Thanos, they killed him off. In the comics, the villains tend to get away, even if they get defeated. And I think they really need to do stuff like that more. Like I really hope, and I don't think they're going to do this with Doom. He's going to be in a couple of movies, but I hope they don't ever really kill him off ever. Like he'll get defeated, but not killed. Because then if you kill the character, I mean, the only way you can ever bring him back is by doing the multiverse. And then after a while, if you keep doing stuff like that, people are going to get bored because they're like, oh, okay, there's no stakes in these movies or TV shows anymore because even if they kill somebody, they'll just bring them back and say, oh, he's another dimension from another dimension. So, let's hope they start righting the ship. So, anyway, let's see if we have any more questions. You can ask anything. I'll be more than happy to answer them. And you could disagree with my disagreement. That's the beautiful thing about conversations. Um, Omega says, hey, Chris, just wondering what you thought of Null in Venom 3. Hopefully that answered the question. Um, Kim says, Null is too new and comic readers are excited. I would agree with that. Kim says, bad thing about Venom 3 is that Null is not on the cover. Yeah, well, that's why most people want Venom 3, the third print. That's the most expensive one. The Venom 3 third printing has Null on the cover. So there's a lot of different variants of Venom 3, but it's the third print that's the most desirable. I don't know if I sold mine, but I believe I still have a third print in a 9.8. I'm gonna have to go check through my graded comics. Might be time to check that out because, especially if you have a 9.8, if it's signed to something, that might be worth it. But I might just hold on to it, like I said before, and just wait until they see what they do with them in the MCU. So let's hope that Sony does not do a one and done and destroy what is really a god level threat. And I don't believe they're that even Sony's that dumb. Let's see. Andrew Jensen, Spider-Man, Null Way Home. That would be good if that would be funny if they said that. Let's see. Peter VTC Watt says, how can Spidey 4 have Null when it first needs to be bring in Venom as the villain first? That's a good question. It could be where, he's at the end of the Marvel movie and then they bring him in later. Hard to say anymore with writers that write for these comic book movies how they do things anymore because nothing in the past 2 or 3 years has made sense. So I wish I could say I could have the answer to a question like that, but these are not normal times. So they could literally just throw them in together for all we know. But hopefully they'll stretch it out and, do a thing called character development, even with villains. I don't understand just rushing everything in. Like, I mean, look what DC did um with Justice League and when they did Batman v Superman. I mean, they rushed it and it was ridiculous. I mean, I like Batman, I like Superman, I remember going to the opening day Thursday night of Batman 89. It wasn't called Batman 89 back then, but I mean, that was a huge blockbuster. And I don't want to see them ruin those characters, but they tend to rush things, and it's always because it's not the writers' faults and it's not the directors' faults. It's basically the shareholders, the stockholders of the companies, the people who are financing the movies, who are so afraid of doing anything risky that they end up shooting themselves in the foot, and they ultimately, most of the time, end up losing money anyway. If they just allow the people that are passionate about these creations to actually write a good movie or a good story for a TV show, the fans would all join in. I mean, anybody that's been saying that the comic movies have been failing because of comic fatigue obviously didn't see Deadpool and Wolverine. So it shows there is no comic book fatigue. There are just people who are tired of the DEI nonsense, the lazy script writing, the just rehashing a character into somebody that's now a different color, a different sexual preference, or a different race, instead of making a new character for those particular races or skin colors, etc., and give someone else something new. You know, they really need to just get back to the good old days when movies were made by people with passion. Let's hope that that comes around at some point. Cash Cow Occupation LLC says, um, "What other Spider-Man villains do you think will have a future in the MCU?" Um, well, first of all, you got to see Venom in the MCU. Who would I like to see as far as Spider-Man villains? Hmm. Because I would absolutely love to see the Hobgoblin for one, because they've talked about that with Ned Leeds. Because remember, in Spider-Man No Way Home, yeah, they were friends. And remember in the middle of the movie where all three Peter Parkers were making all of the cures for the villains of the movie, you know, Ned Leeds was talking to the Peter Parker from the first Spider-Man movies ever, and he was talking about how he killed his best friend, and Ned Leeds goes to the MCU's Peter Parker and says, I would never hurt you. So that's kind of setting it up. And then at the end of that movie, they don't even remember who he is anymore, so they're not even friends anymore. At least as far as Ned Leeds is concerned, he doesn't remember who Peter Parker is. So that kind of sets it up so where the reason of why these two who were friends for all that time could actually end up fighting each other. So I would like to see Hobgoblin. What other? Shocker was in a movie, but they didn't really utilize him that great. I would love to see a good version of Shocker. They've already done Mysterio, they've already done Lizard, they've done the Vulture, they've done Doc Ock, they've done Green Goblin. They're doing Craven. Craven, that's a street level kind of thing. Um, I mean, basically, it's Venom, Hobgoblin. I mean, they're doing the Rhino now, not with Spider-Man, but I mean, the Rhino. I don't know. I just don't like them using like these tech suits and stuff for stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe it's just he has to fight, like for example, in Amazing Spider-Man #5, where he fought with Doctor Doom. Yeah, maybe you need stuff like that. I don't know. I think the only one really would be like Hobgoblin. If anybody else has any recommendations, maybe even if you're doing a street level movie, maybe somebody like Tombstone with or Kingpin. You know, I would love to see that. I would love to see Spider-Man, Daredevil, and if they ever recast and redirected the She-Hulk, because remember she's a lawyer in Hell's Kitchen. I would love to see those three maybe go up against people like, Tombstone. And you could have the Punisher in there as well. Movies like that would be, you don't have to always have these grand movies with all these spectacles and all this stuff. You could literally, I mean, how many of you, if they made a Spider-Man 4 where they had Kingpin and Tombstone, maybe even Hobgoblin as the bad guys of the movie, and the good guys are Spider-Man, Daredevil, Punisher, and maybe to a lesser extent She-Hulk, but I can understand if people after that TV show wouldn't want her in. But even if you had those just those three, Daredevil, Punisher, and Spider-Man, who wouldn't want to see that? Somebody recommended Cardiac. Black Cat would be another one. Um, I would love to see Black Cat, but with the world the way it is today, you would not see the Black Cat version that made her popular. I mean, Black Cat is supposed to be very sexy, supposed to be very alluring, you know, well endowed in certain areas, if you know what I mean. And I think they would just basically give her like, a black leather suit that's armored, that covers everything. Um, you know, I think now would be the wrong time for Black Cat to make an appearance. They would just make her so average that people wouldn't want to watch it. So I can understand Black Cat, but I would want the comics version of Black Cat and not what Hollywood would put out. Because even Marvel is just going to basically unsexualize her. And it's just not going to be anything of what made Black Cat very popular, especially when it comes to Spider-Man, because she was always seducing him. Remember, Peter Parker at one point had a love triangle basically between Mary Jane Watson and the Black Cat, Felicia Hardy. So without that flirtatiousness of Black Cat, if they just ripped that soul out of her in the movies, it would just take away everything that makes Black Cat what she was in the comics. So I would love to see Black Cat, but I would never want to see her now in the MCU because it would just be like a total watered down version. So yeah, so those are my thoughts. Let me see. What do you think about the hype of comic cards or pack breaking comic cards? Not my thing. I do have some original, back I think in '95, some of the Marvel Mystery. As a matter of fact, hold on, I got them right here. Here, let me put the video camera back on. Um, they're not really worth too much, but I mean, let's put it this way: if they're fun for people, that's great. Here's just some of my, cards where I have like game used and signed baseball cards. This is just some like football cards and hockey cards and signed stuff like that. But at the last page, hold on, I haven't looked through this in a while. Yeah, I'll take it out of the binder. I don't even know if any of these are worth anything. Some of these are the Marvel masterpieces, but we got, those in typical '90s fashion. These are all the variant cards. There's one of the Sam Keith Shadowhawk in the center. There's one Liefeld's Cable. This is a hologram of Wolverine. And then you have the two right here. I don't even know. I think they might have some value to them. The Marvel Mastery. I think it's '95, I believe. These were done by, I believe, Joe Jusko. And then a couple more on the back. I have another one. I had doubles of this one. But these are glow in the dark. Ghost Rider. Both of those glow in the dark. Then you have some when I had the Wizard magazines. These were the cards that came with them. I have one that's like carded and certified. There's my Spawn card. And then you have Greg Hillebrand. It's signed, but not, it's like a golden signature. It's not his actual signature. And there's a Punisher one. And again, of course, the wonderful special effects. And this is I think, Flare. Yeah, Flare Storm. So I don't even know if any of these have value, but I was buying a bunch of these when I was younger. I think like 95, it's either 94, 95, or 96. But yeah, they could be fun to have. I mean, again, I don't know if any of these even have any value to them. I think those Marvel masterpieces might be the ones that have the most, especially the Venom Spider-Man. But My thing is, if you love collecting something, even if everybody else hates it, even if everybody else thinks you're crazy, even if everybody else says they would never collect what you're collecting, the beautiful thing about that is there's less competition, less chance of having to overspend to outbid somebody. So sometimes it actually is beneficial to be doing things that most people won't do. Like I've shared in the video the other day, all these books. Amazing Spider-Man #1, Superman #2, World's Finest #2, Invincible #1. When I bought those for the prices I paid for them, people thought I was crazy to get them at the time I got them. Okay, I'm the one that could like make 10 times the amount of money that I paid for those now because I saw the value and I saw the potential of the value down the line. So don't always listen to what other people say. Unfortunately, a lot of people need others to agree with them or maybe disagree with them to make them feel justified and righteous. So go with what works for you. And if no one else agrees, or no one else likes it, or no one else would do it, don't get pressured into saying, oh, I won't do it, or I won't say it, or I won't buy it. Say, I'm very glad none of them want to do it because now I have that thing or those things all to myself and not have to worry about paying 10 times as much because I have to compete with other bidders so I don't get outbid. So as long as you have fun with it, that's all that cares. McShort says 90s gimmick stuff get me every time. Yeah, that's why basically, the comic book crash happened and I stopped collecting that stuff back in the 90s. I mean, as you could see, I don't have pages worth of them, so I didn't collect major amounts. But, you don't know at the time. Back in the 90s, it was especially early 90s, it was a different time period. Back when people believed when somebody said collector's item that it actually might be a collector's item. Some people could say people were stupid. Some people could just say they were naive. I say maybe people are just trusting that people, when they said something, that they actually meant what they said. So, I mean, again, as long as you're having like fun with it, that's all that matters. Let's see. Jason Brazier, Mr. Negative was popular for a while. Anti-Venom. Anti-Venom would be cool. But the problem is, I mean, how can you do Anti-Venom before Venom? So, you see what I mean? That would have to come later because that would confuse people. So, but yeah, Anti-Venom would be a cool one. Silver Sable. Problem is, most people outside of the comic book community would probably have no idea who Silver Sable is. So that definitely couldn't be a major character. Kim said Hydro Man. The problem with that is in the second Spider-Man movie, they led you to believe that the one of the villains was Hydro Man. So they kind of took away from using that character at that point, I believe, but of course they could. Yes, Cash Cow. That's one I forgot. I would love to finally see Scorpion. I would like to see Scorpion done the right way, but yeah, they teased it at the end of the Spider-Man movie where they showed that guy with the Scorpion tattoo, and then it never went anywhere. So yeah, that would be a cool one to see as well. But yeah, they've used a lot of the big time villains, so it's hard to say. I just hope they just do the whatever villains they use, I just hope they do them right. And they actually do character development and they just don't kill them off. I mean, you can have the heroes win at the end of the movie and just defeat the villain where they say, "Oh, curses, you've defeated me, but I'll be back and in greater numbers." You know what I mean? Like they don't always have to murder them because then you can't use them anymore. So they really need to fix that. The good guys can win by beating the bad guys without killing them. They can just defeat them and they have to come back another time, maybe stronger. So, I think that's just due to the type of people they're hiring for writing. They just don't know how to write. And, AI is not smart enough yet to be able to do too many original storylines. It's just especially when you have interference from the people who are putting the money into making the films, too much office interference that they take the passion away. And that's why you saw, like, I'm sure Ryan Reynolds, before, I'm assuming, of course, but I would assume because of how good the movie was, that before he signed any contracts with Disney, he probably said, I need, you know, range and ability to make decisions. And they probably saw the money that they would make off of him, and they said, "Yeah, you have free reign." And you can see it in the movie. You can see there was probably very little people at the top saying, "Oh, we don't want that," or maybe you should try this and water it down or dumb it down. And you could see that Ryan Reynolds was allowed to use the passion. Same thing with Hugh Jackman. I mean, how many interviews did they do before that movie to hype it up? And you could see the passion. And we need more of that. If more people did things in life with that kind of passion, there would be so many new inventions, so many great ideas, so many collaborations with people that would not have probably ever done it before. It's the passion we need back, and I hope they get more of that. So, regardless of what villains they use, I hope they just have writers that know how to write, and the directors have the ability, and even the actors have the ability to not be constricted by what the people at the top are telling them they can and cannot do, or suggesting, things that they may not think are going to be what the audience wants. So many movies back in the 80s, even 70s, 80s, 90s would not be able to be made today because back then they could take risks. And a lot of times you get great movies from that. They just won't allow that anymore. They want everything to be safe. And you could see for the past, probably since 2016, not many great movies and TV shows have come out. Now, of course, there are exceptions to every rule, but on average, no one's going to look back at the 2020s and say, "Oh, that was the golden age of movies." Far from it. So let's see if we have any other questions or anything. McShort says, if it said collector's item on the cover, yeah, well, live and learn. Like I said, I'm sure people try. I mean, I remember when they had the death of Superman. I remember that there were people who bought like literally hundreds of that comic, would go into the city in Manhattan and sell them on the streets for $25 a piece. I mean, even people's grandparents knew about that book. That's pretty much what killed the comic book industry, especially when they brought him back like 3 months later. Because people felt betrayed. They actually, back then, you actually trusted people's word. I mean, again, all of us stupid or naive? I just think we were trusting, and people just took advantage of that for profit. You see a lot of YouTubers these days in all areas of YouTube that they don't care about people's safety and security a lot of times, or they don't care about their well-being. They care about what can I put as a title or what can I put in a video that can get viewers, even if it's misleading or even if it's exaggerated. I mean, I'll give you a prime example of the person that shall not be named, and I'm just going to make this 2 seconds. I was, as usual, I get my recommendations on my YouTube channel where, you go and you'll see recommendations of stuff. And they showed the video that person did of me. I didn't watch it, of course, but I knew it was me because he had a picture of me on it, and it said, "YouTuber furious." When was the last time you guys saw me furious about anything? When I saw that, I so laughed. But it's clearly clickbait, and it clearly worked because I think it had like over almost 5,000 views. But yeah, you guys know me. I am furious. Call me we love Furyism from now on. But I mean, that's what some people are willing to do just to get views. There's not much integrity anymore. People care more about the titles and the clickbait and making up nonsense or over dramatizing nonsense over integrity and basically caring for things. So anyway, like I said, I'm not going to be talking about more about that. Kim says Molten Man. Again, that's a minor character. That would not be a headliner. That Molten Man is going to be for somebody who's been into reading comics and knows a lot about comics. Remember, when you're making a movie, you can, especially a comic book movie, obviously, you can't just make a movie based on what will the comic lovers love. Remember, there are plenty of people who have maybe never even picked up a comic book that you have to get into the seats to watch a movie. Molten Man is just never going to be enough to draw a crowd. because most people are not going to know. Again, same thing, Kim. Tarantula, you know, not a character that most people would know about. I mean, Tarantula is basically just a person with a bandana that has spiked shoes. I mean, obviously he's more than that, but what I'm saying is like characters like that, they're like D-level characters. They're not going to hold a movie, and it's not going to be interesting for people who don't know about comics. So yes, those are good Spider-Man villains, but you have to have something. Nobody is going to say, Amazing Spider-Man 5 against Molten Man and say, I can't wait to see that. If it's Doctor Doom, they're going to say, I can't wait to see that. If it's Venom, I can't wait to see that. But Tarantula, you see what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to say they're bad characters. They're just not good enough for a movie. Unless, I mean, even if they were in a movie, they would literally be like what they did to Crossbones in the Civil War movie. And I was really upset about that because when I heard Crossbones was going to be in the Civil War movie, I liked that character. I thought they could do a lot with him. They basically turned him into a joke where he was in the movie for what, 4 minutes? And then they kill him off? I mean, it makes no sense to me. So if Molten Man and Tarantula got in a movie, they would literally be in for like in Wolverine Deadpool in the scene where they're in the lair of Casanova, whatever her name is, um Cassandra Nova. You saw a whole bunch of villains just standing there. That's probably what you see them as, probably at best. So yeah, good comic book characters, but not ones that most people outside of the comic community would even know about. And in that case, they would not make any kind of impact on a movie. All right, let's see. Son of Crom. I don't think I've ever seen you here before. Welcome. It also has to do with star power. If Tom Cruise was Tarantula, might have pulling power. Well, let's put it this way. What are the chances of them getting Tom Cruise and making him Tarantula? So in a certain extent, I can understand what you're saying, and I would agree star power would do that. But if you're hiring Tom Cruise, he's going to play a major character. He's not playing somebody that nobody knows about. So, um, and listen, if you were Tom Cruise and you've done all the movies that you've done, would you want to play Tarantula, a character that nobody knows? So what? So they can improve it an extra 5%? So again, the side characters, and again, nobody's going to know who it is. So, just because you have a celebrity does not guarantee a movie. I mean, just look at John Travolta in his Scientology movie. And if you know the name of that alien movie, or you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. And John Travolta was really going really high with his movies at that certain point. That's why he was able to make that movie because they allowed him, I guess maybe somebody owed him a favor and put that movie out, or maybe just because of Scientology. But yeah, just because there's star power does not guarantee a movie to be great. Many people have been incredibly famous that did not make good movies. But again, if you're Tom Cruise, you're not playing the tarantula. You want to be the next Iron Man, or maybe you want to be a version of Doctor Doom. You're not going to play some two-bit D character villain like the tarantula. But again, I can see where you're going with that, but I just don't think they would ever do it. Is it possible? Sure. Is it likely that it's ever going to happen? No. All right, make sure it says they did make movies about mostly B tier characters for only licensing reasons and made millions. Yeah, but they were also good stories. You know, uh, sometimes you will pull the rabbit out of the hat. Like no one expected Guardians of the Galaxy to be as popular as it was. But the problem with movies like that is then people assume they can just do it every time and it's going to be a success. Sometimes you find gold at the end of the rainbow and it's a one-time deal. So yes, it has been done and it can be done. But again, if you're going to be the one, let's say you have the money to get Tom Cruise to do a movie. Do you want Tom Cruise to play Doctor Doom? Do you want Cruise to play a version of Iron Man? Or do you want Tom Cruise to play Molten Man? Can he lift the character? Sure. You don't want that. And he probably wouldn't want it. Andrew Jensen says, like Dazzler in the X-Men movies. Yeah, I mean, Dazzler. Jubilee is another one they just never did right. And I like Jubilee. I would love to see her in an X-Men movie done right. Even Cyclops, they never did him right. I would love to see his 90s version of that blue costume with the yellow across with the little X right here in red and had like the almost like Gambit's kind of mask. That to me and Rogue. Rogue is another one they did not do right. I would love to see 90s Rogue. But again, this day and age, they're probably not going to do the seductive, alluring versions of what made them popular. I mean, Jim Lee's version of the X-Men may have been exasperately overprinted, but the characters that he drew and how they drew them made a lot of people become fans. I would love to see that kind of version of them in the movie theaters. Like to me, when they did the X-Men Age of Apocalypse and they brought back Storm with the mohawk, I never liked Storm with the mohawk. I like her with the long flowing hair. She looks much more attractive that way. The mohawk just, I don't know, in my opinion, a little butchy. But, to each their own. Just because I don't like something doesn't mean you don't have to. Jason said Cruz might have been a fun Craven. Possibly. I just don't see him as Craven's supposed to be like the typical alpha male, like the bearded, like the big beard, the hairy chest, the hairy arms, the thickness, that intimidation look. I mean, I think the guy who is going to be playing Hercules, I think would have been a better looking Craven. But because looks do matter, and that's why I didn't see the latest Batman movie with the Twilight actor. Because to me, he does not look like Batman. Batman is supposed to be scary. He's supposed to be intimidating. And Twilight Batman, to me, he just looked like an emo in a Batman suit. He did not look tough. They tried to make him tough with the fighting scenes, but the appearance, it has to be right. And they're afraid to do it. And McShort says it best: Hollywood hates alpha males. Well, I would say straight white alpha males. But yeah, I know what you mean on that one. And Jason got it right. Battlefield Earth was terrible. It's funny to me. Battlefield Earth is so bad. It's actually fun to watch. I actually, when that show is ever showing on, I like to watch it just because how ridiculous it actually is. Um, Whoever made the costumes where they put like literally it looks like 12-inch platforms on their shoes. I mean, that alone was just comical. But yeah, that to me that's one of those movies that's just so bad it's actually fun to watch. There are some movies that are just so bad you'll never want to watch them. So at least if you're going to make a movie that's bad, at least make it so bad it's actually fun to watch. But I mean, it's going to be hard these days, but it cannot last forever. I do believe eventually there will be light at the end of the tunnel. Um, they will get back to some form of normalcy when people stop putting their money and stop thumbing down the videos and the going to the trailers just to leave a nasty comment. Stop giving them excuses because all they see is ad revenue from the advertisements from people clicking. You know, until people can get over the emotional stuff and just stay away, it's not going to change. And that's why, with the current situation I had this week with that other YouTuber, I have not gone to his video. I don't care. I'm not going to respond. Yeah, I'm talking about it now for a second, but I'm not going to go over there and create hate. Whatever happens, happens. So I think when people stop going to trailers just to thumb them down or go to a clip of a movie and leave a nasty, hateful comment, or spend your money watching a movie to go do a negative review, you're still giving them money. People don't understand with this with corporations. Like, for example, if Nike, just to use them as an example, or let's not even use a specific company. Let's say there's a shoe company called Mikey with an M like Mary. So there's a shoe company called Mikey, and you buy their shoes and find out they did something you don't like. So you take your Mikey shoes and you make a video of you burning them in protest. Sounds good. Plenty of people will high five you. Many others will probably do the same. But remember, that company already has your money. What do you think they care about what you do with the product after you've already purchased them? The idea is to, as they say in the movie War Games, sometimes the best strategy is not to play at all. Don't play into their games. And that's how you fix these things. Otherwise, it's going to take longer and longer, but eventually things will turn around and movies will go back to the heroines and the heroes that people love, and actual writers who know how to write, and putting people in charge that actually are passionate and allowed to have some, range of, doing things on their own and trusting their instincts instead of just trusting higher ups who never know what they're talking about and they just care about the money. Eventually it'll happen. But the quicker we stop going into the negative Nance of view because it's a drug that makes you feel good, to go and thumb down some trailer and leave a hateful comment or make a negative review, if they got you to click the video, they got your money. They might have not have gotten it from you directly, but they still know, well, I can make the worst movie in the world, and as long as I attack the fans, they'll be emotional enough to come to my trailer and thumb it down by the millions, and just imagine how much ad revenue they'll get from it. You guys got to stop playing that game. And I'm not saying anybody specifically, obviously, but once people get rid of that emotion that they feel the need to have to go to a video and they have to thumb it down or they have to leave a comment, um, it gives the incentive for people to keep doing the wrong thing for longer. And most of us don't want that. So we'll see what happens. McShort said, been silent on your channel for a bit. Discovered your stuff a bit ago. Loving it, man. Thank you. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you've decided to speak up and join the conversation. That's what it should be all about. Most people, um, I'm supposedly enemy number one. And remember, call me Furioso from now on because I'm so furious about things. So, most people are afraid to admit they're Relove comic fans because for some reason, according to some in the comic book community, I'm basically Satan. Yeah, I look pretty good for Satan. I don't have any horns, and I'm definitely a little too fair-skinned with all that heat around me. But hey, it is what it is. But I'm glad you are deciding to join in. So with today's surprise subscriber shoutouts, make sure you're going to be one of them. And we're going to go with Cash Cow Occupation LLC. Both of you are today's surprise subscriber shoutouts, which means if you have a YouTube channel and you'd like to if you'd like to post a link to either a specific video of yours or to your YouTube channel, you can do that. If you don't have a YouTube channel and you would prefer to leave a link to one of your social networks, you can do that instead. Or if you would rather maybe sell stuff on Amazon, Etsy, eBay, or anywhere else, and you'd like to send a link to something you sell, I have no problem with that. I'll leave that up to you to decide. Basically, all links will go directly to spam first. This keeps any trolls or any spammers from putting inappropriate links onto my channel. So all links will have to be approved. So once you leave a comment, it will not show up until I approve it. So if you see a link in the comment section, it means that I did take the time to approve it. So that means it has been verified and suitable for all audiences. So if you see a link, go support them. Let's show the community what communities are all about. Let's be furious with the love, ladies and gentlemen. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Basically, at this point, the hurricane should be, the eye of the storm should be pretty even to where I live, and I don't even hear any wind blowing. So looks like we've dodged a bullet, which I'm very happy about. But again, anybody up near the Panhandle, near Tallahassee, please be safe. and send your prayers to them because they'll definitely need it. So, if you want to hit the thumbs up for this video, that's great. If you want to hit the thumbs down, just as well. Either way, I appreciate you taking the time to visit. I thank everybody that took the time to come into this live chat. Whether you're here for good or for evil, that's for you to decide. I appreciate you nonetheless. And we'll do some videos soon. I'm going to be doing in the next day or so the 4 books that I'm going to be sending to PGX. So if you want to stay tuned for that in the next day or so, that's something to look forward to. Let me know what you think about the AI art. If you'd like to critique it, positive or negative, I'll leave that up to you. Give our shout outs a shout out. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, it is not you. It is not I. It is We Love Comics. I posted a link once again in the live chat for my mystery boxes. If you click on the link, it's going to take you to my store, my web store, where you'll see pyramids, you'll see soaps and deodorants and things like that. You are in the right place. Just scroll down to the bottom and you'll see the comic book section. And again, look up We Love Comics mystery boxes in the YouTube search engine and check out a couple of people who have bought from me in the past so you can see what kind of stuff you get. Especially if you're getting the bigger mystery boxes, you're going to get some good comics. You're not going to get any generic stuff you've never heard of. So thanks for watching, everybody. And don't forget to have your trolls spayed or neutered. Peace out, everybody.